I am a very famous elephant. My story is written in the Quran, but I will tell you my story in my own words. It started in the same year in which the Prophet Muhammad was born. I will tell you my story with prophets. I am very famous elephant. I was live in Habasha, and the king of Habasha, his name is Abraha, honored me and made me his own special elephant when he realized how strong and powerful I was, and put me in his army, and I traveled with them to a country called Yemen. I was able to help my people take up the land of Yemen. He was building a huge temple that would be bigger than the temple at Mecca. The temple at Mecca, which people come from everywhere to visit. In his great temple, Abraha built a golden Kaaba. He wanted people to make their Hajj to it instead to go to the Kaaba. But people still didn't come to the Abraha's Kaaba. Abraha became very angry and decided he had destroyed the Kaaba at Mecca. Then only the Kaaba that he had built of gold would be left, and people would have to visit it. So, Abraha made ready a great army to attack Mecca and the people of Mecca. I was in that army, of course, so that the commander Abraha could ride on my back and lead his army. Abraha wanted me to carry him all the way to the Kaaba at Mecca. To be honest, I was not happy about doing this, but I couldn't refuse to go with them. So I marched with Abraha's army, and soldiers all around me were talking about the people of Mecca and the story of the Kaaba. They said a lot of story. They said it had been built by a prophet named Ibrahim, and his son Ismail had helped him to build it. They also said that Ibrahim could perform miracles, and that once when his people threw him into a fire, he wasn't burned. I learned that his Kaaba was a holy place, and that it was in the sacred house of Allah, and that his sacred house was a place of safety. People enter it and no harm comes to them. Pagans land there and no one harms them or comes near them. It's safe and peaceful place, a place pleased by Allah. The people love it and find shelter there and pray. I learned also from soldiers that the people of Mecca were afraid when they heard about me and realized that I was marching towards them, because they had heard of my strength, how I could knock down and destroy anything in my path. Only one night remained before we reached Mecca, and then the Kaaba would be no more, and Mecca would be destroyed. There was no hope that Mecca would be saved or the Kaaba escape unharmed. When Abdul Muttalib, leader of Mecca, learned that Abraha and his army and I would destroy the Kaaba, he was not afraid. In fact, he confidently said, "The house had a Lord who will protect it." These mighty words spoken by Abdul Muttalib made me feel afraid. Can you imagine me feel afraid? In fact, I was so scared by Abdul Muttalib's word. That I became unable to walk. I felt a great tiredness come over me. And I was not the only one. All the elephants, all the horses, all the camels, all the soldiers, we are unable to walk. I was standing completely still. I couldn't move, as if my legs were stuck to the ground, nailed to the spot. I couldn't move a single step towards Mecca. Abraha and the soldiers were greatly confused. They turned me to face the other direction, and then I could walk. They turned me to the right, and I could walk. They turned me to the left, and I moved with ease. But when they faced me in the direction of the Kaaba, I couldn't move. They beat me, they pulled me and pushed me. They burned me with a fire, but I couldn't move. Then suddenly, an amazing thing happened. With my own eyes, I saw birds covering the whole sky. The world went dark, and I could no longer tell if I was dreaming or if I was awake seeing what was happening around me. I hear the soldiers yelling. They are birds in huge flocks throwing stones of big clay. I found myself looking all around and shaking with fear. Had never seen anything like this. Suddenly, I found myself falling to my knees. As I saw a light in the distance stretching between the earth and the sky, the light was around Mecca. And from far away I saw Abdul Muttalib, leader of the tribe of Quraysh, come forward. Everyone was cheering and congratulating him, shouting, "Mubarak, Mubarak," for Abraha's army was finished. Abdul Muttalib was telling those around him about a dream he had, in which he saw a chain of silver come out of his bag. One end was in the earth, and the other end in the sky. Then, after a short while, the chain turned into a tree, and on one of its leaves was a light. All the people were clinging to that leaf. Those who were listening to the dream for Abdul Muttalib, they said, then his son Abdullah would have a son whom the people in the east and the west would follow, and asked him, "What will you call him?" He answered, I will call him Mohamed, which means he was praised on earth and in heaven.
في عيوني في يميني كعبتي قدسي وديني كعبة الله ملاذ للبرايا من سنين للبرايا من سنين.
And with the good news of the birth of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, this story about me, the famous elephant and destruction of Abraha and his great army, comes to an end. Mecca survives and the Kaaba survives, and it will remain until the end of the time, eternal and mighty. And the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam turn towards it 5 times a day as they pray to Allah, who sent them the Prophet to guide them.
الله رباها أقوى من كل الحصون قد حماها الله دوما فاقرأوا سفر القرون فاقرأوا سفر القرون. واسأل الفيلة لما جرى عند الحجون واسأل الأفيالة لما جرى عند الحجون أبرها عنها تردى أبرها عنها تردى أبرها عنها تردى فاخسأوا أعداء ديني فاخسأوا أعداء ديني.